Right, so the autumn statement has come around again, and the mad-eyed laughing assassin that is Jeremy, sounds like Hunt, has wheeled out some interesting policy ideas, but the whole shebang had already been overshadowed by another wanton attack on those on benefits, whilst cheering the fall in inflation as justification for tax cuts, when this just means less money for public services. How about, instead of attacking the disabled over whether they can or should work, instead of saying, oh look, all these people who could work from home during the pandemic have proven disabled people at home could do that sort of work too? And what kind of a light does that cast us in this sickening and utterly cruel red meat for the frothing right-wing gammonati policy that the Tories are intent of basically killing yet more of those with the greatest needs off instead of supporting them properly? Because this isn't a carrot they're being offered to go back into work. It's a great big stick again. Right, so as ever, most of what is coming in the budget and the autumn statement, as they come out every year, got leaked ahead of time. So we knew benefits bashing was once again on the agenda already. You should work. It's what we Tories believe in, and if you can't, well, we'll help you to shuffle off this mortal coil. 330,000 people have died due to Tory benefit reforms since they got back into power in 2010 before they decided to stop counting. That's 330,000 long-term sick and disabled people not helped into work but instead into their graves. On welfare policy alone, the Tories should have been wiped out electorally long before now, but as recent history has sadly shown, too many people in society think that it's a great policy, because why should some people get some money that you can't when you're struggling too? Politics of envy, divide and conquer the working classes, missing the point entirely that your health is quite clearly better than theirs. That is why they get extra support. There's a better question you could ask yourselves, of course, and that is, why have the Tories not given you more money before the crumbs they are offering, instead of blowing £100 billion in just the last 4 years? The pandemic waste. Michelle Mone and the other PPE oligarchs, that's exactly what they should be known as. Dido Harding, of course, remember her? Where did she lose all that track and trace money? We never have found out, have we? Where even is their apology for that, as they now say to disabled people, get to work or we'll cut off your incomes, we'll cut off your access to healthcare and dentistry and legal aid and whatever else we can think of until you either get to work or perish. Where are these jobs coming from anyway? People stopped going into the office and working from home instead because of the pandemic. There was no new jobs being created here. It was the same job, different location. What are you suggesting these people who are going to work from home do? Is it better wear catalogues? A little bit of envelope stuffing, some stamp licking? There isn't a lot of money in work from home opportunities unless more businesses start moving to a working from home model. And there are no plans in this statement to encourage businesses to do that. Where is the incentive for businesses to recruit disabled people for them to work from home? How would they be trained from home to do said job if they did? So many questions about this that have not been answered. There were a couple of sweeteners in Hunt's statement that gave nods to pushing people in this direction that perhaps gave that game away a little bit. For those that can go into work with whatever their health issues are, employee national insurance is getting cut from 12% to 10%, and the minimum wage, let's not pretend it's a living wage, never has been, is going up to £11.44, which is a bit of a jump. For those who can't go into work, can't find a job from home, well, perhaps they might consider self-employment instead. Because Jeremy Hunt has just abolished Class 2 national insurance contributions entirely and cut Class 4 contributions for the self-employed from 9% to 8%. So very good news if you are self-employed. These are good things by the sounds of it. It's a few £100 a year if you're earning enough to pay tax, so not to be sniffed at, equally not dramatically life-changing either on average earnings. But if you're stuck at home, what can you do? What sort of a business could you start? How could you become self-employed? And what help will you get in order to do that? And this goes for carers too, who are also at home, looking after these people who have already been assessed as being too ill to work, but are now going to be made to, it seems. What of the carers? Well, Hunt overlooked them completely. They do it every time. Carers? Who are they? Unpaid carers are long forgotten people that keep this country ticking over, because if they all went back to work themselves and dumped the people they care on the NHS, well, it would collapse overnight. I mean, these people could sit at home and, I don't know, shout at the computer about how awful our politicians are. It's not a bad idea. Does somebody else do that? Oh, it's what I do, isn't it? I'm self-employed these days doing it. Owed to everyone who has supported me to get there, but it's taken years. I'm still a carer as well, regardless of that. I'm just a very lucky, very grateful one, able to do what I do and make a bit of cash doing it to support myself and my family. But I'm an exception, though, and I know it. not the rule, because it does take years to get going. Businesses fail all the time as well. I could go bust overnight if people stop watching me. And the stress of financial upheaval is immense. You wouldn't believe the hassle I had for 2 months this year, for example, just trying to come off carer's allowance. Now, it's all well and good using myself as an example here, but I'm in good health. Those I care for are not. I make time daily to make content, to work, but if you're ill or disabled, you may not be able to do that consistently. All in all, it's a barbaric policy designed to clobber people as hard as possible. And Hunt can say he's putting their benefits up all he likes, but it's a case of giving with one hand, rising in April by 6.7% as benefits are apparently going to. But if you're going to start stripping more and more people of it with the other, how many people at the end of the day are actually going to really benefit? Fundamentally, there's no infrastructure to help people into work with disabilities, no educational opportunities being offered, none being mentioned to help them into work, no training. What about the ones who already do work as well? You can be disabled and be in work. Plenty of disabled people are working now. But what if they aren't working enough now? What if demands you work more come in next because they decide with their plans you should be working more than you already are? What if you can't? This policy is just a big stick to beat people with for votes. The latest Tory culture war kicking off, going into the next election. As for the tax cuts, well, it's all thanks to the inflation getting halved, don't you know? Well done us, the Tories. They bray and they bark. It had nothing to do with them at all. Of course, inflation was coming down anyway. We knew that at the beginning of the year. But inflation also doesn't give the Tories more money to spend on tax cuts. It simply means the rate of things getting more expensive has slowed down. And again, this is only headline inflation, not food inflation, for example, which is still higher. Their idiocy makes inflation sound like, well, now let's have an example. Borrowing £1,000 from the bank, then deciding to only borrow £500 of it, and then pretending that you've saved the other £500 that you never borrowed to begin with. It's nonsense, isn't it? Inflation is not a tax. It won't pay for a damn thing. Oh, but the national debt is coming down. That's bound to pay for it. That's a debt demo, isn't it? Well, no. It isn't. It's just another financial device that's been stupidly named to confuse people. All the cash in circulation is part of the national debt. So if you literally paid off the national debt completely, you would literally have no coinage, no notes, no nothing. No currency at all. Hunt wants you to think inflation's paid that off too. Again, no. Growth isn't going to happen either. The economy is flatlining regardless of the Tories saying, we've never had it so good. You should be counting your lucky stars. You live in Great Britain. Those national insurance cuts I mentioned earlier, they're coming in January. That's a bit weird. What the heck? Why do that unless you want to put people in a really good mood for some reason, like, I don't know, before a May general election maybe, and introducing them at the beginning of the next tax year in April? Well, people won't get the feel-good factor in time, will they? I think Hunt gave the game away on that there. Functionally, this was an autumn statement that'll be remembered for a sickening assault on the poorest and the sickest, which the Tories will hope you'll forget about when you find more money in your wallet come the new year, hoping it'll put you in a good mood to stick with them at a not-so-distant general election, instead of hoping Labour will treat you better, which, just as an FYI, they won't. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Please do have your say on this story in the comments below and be part of the conversation. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation where Hunt's addiction to bashing benefits saw him jump on the media bandwagon a few months ago on this topic. Andrew Pearce of The Fail will be loving this autumn statement, I'm sure. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.